Evening. I'd like to thank the candidates and the audience for coming tonight. It's a light turnout, but the beauty of cable access is your messages will probably be heard over and over again, and that's one way we can encourage the knowledge of your candidacy and what you like to do for the town. So I am your neutral moderator, Joe Salvador. I'm a civics teacher here at Quaboag for 29 years, 8th grade, and I brought some of my students here tonight to also play a little part in this presentation and make some connections between what we do in the classroom and what you're doing right here, participating in the community and in democracy. So let's start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I got the flag on the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So as I was saying, in my civics class, I emphasize to the students how I wish them to learn the lessons of the curriculum and then be an active participant in the community, and you guys are providing no better example of that than here tonight at a candidates night by being an active member and participating, and to make some of those connections between the things we've learned in the classroom and what we're seeing here tonight. I have some students coming up to talk about a few of these slides briefly. First one, Stella Paquette.
Cincinnatus and civic virtue. Cincinnatus was a military leader in the Roman Republic. After he retired from the military, he worked on his farm. In 460 BCE, when the Republic was coming under attack from enemies, he was called back to lead the army in battle. Rome defeated the enemy, and the people were so grateful to Cincinnatus that they offered him to let him stay in power. Cincinnatus turned down their offer for power and went back to his home to be a farmer and a citizen. He respected the elected government of Rome and did not seek power and fortune for himself. Cincinnatus showed civic virtue by putting aside his own gain for the good of the community. General Washington also turned down power after leading the American forces to victory over the British and returned to his home at Mount Vernon. Shortly after, he was called back to service for the Constitutional Convention and was elected our first president. Washington served 2 terms and did not seek another term because he didn't want the presidency to resemble a monarchy or a dictatorship. Washington has also been called America's Cincinnatus because he too showed civic virtue by refusing power and individual gain for the common good. The candidates here today are seeking an elected position because they want to what is best for the town of Warren. No one is getting rich and famous for serving these positions, and the candidates, if elected, will put in many hours and attend long meetings. They seek these elected positions because they want to serve the town of Warren for the common good. For that civic virtue, we thank them for their service and willingness to step into the public arena.
Thank you, Stella. Our next student, Julia Quiroga.
America's first government wasn't the Constitution, but the Articles of Confederation. The central government under the Articles provided to be too weak and was replaced in 1787 with the Constitution. One thing that the Articles did well was the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. This law established an orderly sale and development of the western lands and how territories could become states. One key part of the sale and how territories could become states was the money from each 16th section. It would be used for the creation of free and public schooling for the children. Our founding fathers understood that to have functioning representative democracy, the people needed to know how to read and write so they can make informed decisions on their own. An educated, informed public is an essential part of a successful democracy. Having this candidates night is a way to help the public be informed about the candidates and make informed decisions at the ballot box on May 6th. Thank you to the candidates for participating and those of you here tonight.
Thank you, Julia. And our last connection is going to be read by Olivia McAnuff.
In January of 1941, FDR gave a speech to Congress where he outlined the 4 freedoms that America must protect around the world. FDR was trying to win support for America to help their allies when already in World War II, fighting against Germany and Japan. First, Norman Rockwell then paints his depiction of the 4 freedoms speech for a series of magazine covers for the Saturday Evening Post. In Rockwell's depiction of freedom of speech, we see a young man standing up and to express his views at a town meeting. This is an event today that plays out in a small town across America. Americans standing up, speaking, and expressing their views to the public speaking in public does not come easy for many people. We want to acknowledge your courage in participating in this candidates' night. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. So the way we'll proceed with this is each candidate will have a chance to make a statement about themselves, the position they seek, and why the town people should vote for them. They'll get about 5 minutes each for this, and then questions may be asked by the audience members through the moderator. So direct your questions to me. It'll be like a triangle, like a typical town meeting. And again, that's a 5-minute response period for that as well. And then once all the candidates have gone through, we can have an open forum session where you could ask a question of any candidate. Okay? All right, so these are the positions on the ballot for May 6th, and I will go through and just read them off. Again, if they're not here, again, I recognize this was short notice, and it took a little bit for the word to get out, but we appreciate those who can make it here tonight. And again, through the beauty of local access, townsfolk will eventually come across and see this. So we'll read their names, and if they're here, then they get their 5 minutes to make a statement. Okay. So seeking the position of town clerk for a 3-year term is Laura Stockley. Seeking the position of a town treasurer for a 3-year term, Dawn Swistack. Collector of taxes, 3-year term, Kerry A. Schmidt. Highway surveyor, 3-year term, Jeremy Olson. Board of Health, 3-year term, Dan Thibodeau. Board of Health, 1-year term, Travis Baker. So Travis, we can pause on you, and this would be your moment to get up, and you can break the ice. And
talking about myself. Hi, so I'm Travis Baker. I've been a resident in town about 10 years now. Me and my wife moved here with our family from Grafton because nice, quiet town and really good school system. So I actually got involved with the town about 4 years ago, running the cable access. Made a lot of improvements there, and I was approached to run for Board of Health by some of the members, and our Board of Health has kind of been shaky over the last few years, keeping members, and it's a important board. They look over like the restaurants and businesses in town, and make sure we're a safe community, and I feel like having a strong board is important for the health and safety of all of our residents. That's all I have.
very good. Thank you, Travis. Having just heard from Travis Baker for the position of Board of Health, at this time, if there's anyone in the audience that has a direct question for him, you may ask it, or again, we'll come back to an open forum and you can ask then as well. Okay, moving on. Park Commissioner for a 3-year term, Jesse Sweeney. For the position of assessor for a 3-year term, Christian Wood. Now, Christian was unable to make it tonight and submitted a statement that I will read upon his behalf. Okay? Says, I apologize that I couldn't be here this evening. I worked the second shift on the weeknights. My family and I bought a house in Warren last year and are so happy to have found a good community of people here in the town, many of whom are now good friends. I was in attendance at the special town meeting last fall and heard the spirited discussion about difficulties with vacancies on the Board of Assessors. After doing some research, I felt this would be a good opportunity for me to get involved and be of service to our wonderful town of Warren. While I haven't been an assessor before, I have been educating myself on the position and utilizing other resources available through the state to understand how the assessor's office functions. I am confident that with some further instruction, I'll become a strong contributor to the Board of Assessors as it continues to carry out its responsibilities effectively and efficiently. If you would vote for me next week, I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve the people of our town in this important capacity. Thank you, Christian Wood. Position of assessor. Okay. Sewer Commissioner, Travis A. Baker.
Hi, again. So one of the reasons I'm running for Sewer Commission, having sat through recording many of their meetings and looking at past meetings, I know one of the biggest concerns of residents is mismanagement of how our sewer system or sewer department operates. Having worked in trucking for many years in compliance, putting together plans for following regulations, and that is something I'm well versed in. And knowing one of the biggest issues our sewer department has had was DEP violations. I feel that my experience in compliance will be able to help make sure our sewer department's running efficiently and within compliance with state and federal, and hopefully that should help save the town some money paying fines that we do every year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. Okay, any questions pertaining to Travis Baker seeking the position of Sewer Commissioner? Okay, we can come back to this again in open forum. Cemetery Commissioner, 3-year term, Cynthia Baxter. Seeking at-large positions for the Quaboag Regional School Committee, 3-year terms, Megan Sears, Craig Burgess, Brian Griffin, Christine Lutz, Okay. Planning Board, 5-year term, David Dufresne Sr. and Raymond Capaco.
Good evening. I am Raymond Capaco. I'd like to start by thanking Joe, Mr. Salvador, and his students for hosting this event. Thank you very much. Also, thank you to WCAT and their crew for putting this out onto the Community Access channel. And maybe most importantly, thank you to the residents that have showed up tonight and to participate and hear what we have to say about our candidacies. I'd also like to thank all the other candidates, both the ones that are here tonight, as well as the other candidates that are listed on the ballot this year for volunteering, putting themselves out there for the public good. And one last person who didn't get mentioned is Mr. Joinville. Thank you for your technical assistance. Thank you. So I've got a prepared statement that I'll read just to, number one, keep my verbiosity down, and also just that way I don't have to stumble over my words. So why am I running? I want to be an agent for improvement in the town, and I've got 4 reasons. First of all, I believe the selectmen should not concurrently hold other elected town offices or board seats. The 3 current selectmen also serve on the planning board. This should not be. Secondly, I endeavor to impartially represent the residents of the town and encourage other town officers to be impartial as well. There's times when I've seen what I perceive to be a personal bias that gets unduly exercised in some of the board meetings, including the planning board. Third, I will be prepared and informed about the matters that are being placed before the planning board. As a representative of the town, on occasions when I do not know or understand something, I will ask obviously questions, and do the requisite learning to be properly informed. I commit to you, the townspeople, to be teachable and prepared. And fourth, lastly, I will be more helpful to those with business before the planning board that do not know the permitting process or the bylaws and regulations that are applicable to their situation. I will not introduce issues that are irrelevant to the matter or to be overreaching in the board's oversight or enforcement. And so those are clearly I feel like I could do a good job at in those areas, and I feel that it would be an improvement to the planning board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray Kopaco. At this time, are there any questions directed to Ray in him seeking a position on the planning board? Okay, again, something comes to mind, we'll come back to it in the open forum. Seeking the position of constable, there's 5 positions. We have Marcy Deneen, James Dusty, David Johnson, and Karen Dusty. Housing Authority for a 3-year term, Travis Baker and Mark Karen.
I'm just running for all the boards. So Housing Authority, again, having recorded many of their meetings, having talked with the residents up in the Housing Authority, many of them been unhappy for quite a long time with not only their board, but management. And I think it's important to have members of the board that aren't residents, because that eliminates any kind of personal bias and things like that, because you're having somebody that's outside kind of helping with decisions and operations. I know, just speaking with residents, there's a lot more that the Housing Authority could be doing. It's primary housing for elderly and disabled folks, which is very important, especially in a town like this. So being able to make sure we are providing safe, stable housing for those people, and the authority is running the way it should, efficiently and properly. So I made the choice to also run for the Housing Authority as well, to try to step up and help them out, just after seeing years of it run the way it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. And
Questions first? Or?
yes, any questions pertaining to Travis Baker seeking the position of Housing Authority?
I have a question. No, I don't. I'll introduce myself at the
Thank
same
you.
time. Hi, Mark Karen, resident of Warren now for the last 6 years, with my beautiful partner, who's here in the audience. Warren is, I resided in a town not too far from here, and a business owner, independent, but small business owner, and got involved in the community then at a very young age, much younger than I am now, and things just started to steamroll. But to the students here, I kind of bring that up, is that I was a business owner, just minding my own business, but a member of the community and wanting to make an impact, One, so that my business would be healthy. Two, so the people, customers coming in would also see the benefit of my business being there. And through that activity, just cleaning some main streets and doing that, there were other people who were running the town who said, geez, we could use that kind of energy and help in making some of the decisions. That's the right element. So I guess what I'm saying is, by example, I got drafted, and they asked me to be a member of their town council, and the rest is kind of history as it kind of steamrolls through here. I've held a number of positions, one on the state level, and been honored and humbled to do all of that, and left on my own. Like I say, I'm a small business owner and owned a few over the course of the last few years. And what I have come to appreciate, be humbled by, and most honored in some of the things, excuse me, that I was able to do in my life is just to contribute to my neighbor. And if I could make life a little bit better for my neighbor, then I think it shines well on me when I'm no longer breathing, hopefully. But the Housing Authority, I have had the privilege and an honor to serve with Travis for the last couple months as the selectman. I made myself available because there was a clear void. The board was basically disbanded and it could not make any decisions. So Travis had asked for an appointment, or considered for an appointment by the selectmen. I too followed. And over the course of the last couple of months, we have, I think, don't let me speak for you, but I think it's run pretty nicely. The residents have appreciated an input. We have been able to guide the newly hired executive director so that she can actually make decisions, because business was not being able to run. It was being circumvented by another community in our community to handle something that we should be taking care of. And now we are taking care of it on our own. I'd love to continue on, and I know Travis has got interest in a few other boards, which I admire, and I fully support him in there. And whatever the decision is the town may have to elect this position, I would fully support and back. And as a member of the town, of this community, this wonderful community, I'll continue to contribute wherever people may see some advantage from my participation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Karen. Also seeking the position of Housing Authority for a one-year term, Kenneth Clinton, Laura Fitzpatrick. Brings us to the position of Selectman. It's a 3-year term, one position, 2 candidates. We have Derek R. Velez.
Thank you very much. Well, my story goes like this. 16 years ago, we moved to town, actually just looking for the American dream. Me and my lovely wife had a kid, Sebastian, who happened to be a senior. They just came back from Ecuador. Now it's safe and sound at home. I'm a former architect, and I'm a designer. I'm a website app designer. I do a lot of things. I started supporting the schools when my kids joined the schools because we thought that, you know, our kids are the most important things, like they are all for us. Then watching them grow and looking at what was happening in town, we started looking at a lot of solar arrays. And we got concerned because this is a town of, you know, like a farm town. And not necessarily a solar farm, which, anyway, long story short. I had a good friend of mine who happened to be the father of one of my son's friend. And he had to resign from the planning board because he took a job and then he couldn't do it. And that's how I got involved in the planning board. And I think I became a very good asset because of my background. And then I started learning the system and how we could help the town and make it better. Then in one of the town elections, one of the selectmen quit. And it was like 2 weeks before the the elections, and it was going to be sustainably very expensive to have the town do another elections. And they look at me like, you know a lot of stuff, you should, get involved in this. And that's how I end up being a selectman. It's been a pleasure to work in the selectmen. I still think that, all my background and knowledge, it's been very beneficial. I keep supporting the schools all the time in the plays. I also take pictures. You've seen out there. And I think these last 3 years have been a very good experience, not only for me, but for the town. I think we opened it up a lot of transparency, and we had cable, getting our meetings to the public. We had Facebook. We went through the pandemic. I remember I used to record with my phone and be on Facebook Live, trying to transmit the meeting so people could see what was going in town. So it's been very successful. I'm very happy with what we've done over there. I think, I can see it in my kids, how they look at me and how much they appreciate everything that I do, because I have to sacrifice some time. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of emails to read. There's a lot of events that you have to do, and sometimes I have to miss my kids' game to go to the town meeting, to go to one of our executive sessions or regular meetings. So it's difficult, but they see the benefit for the town, and that's why I'm here. But I want to do a finale, just expressing myself, how grateful I am for all the candidates showing on these lists and all the candidates present here today, because serving in town is not easy. It's very difficult. There's a lot of time that you have to put, and that's for sure a good thing for everyone. So everybody in this room, anybody who ends up with the positions, I'm sure you're going to do great. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Before we go to Joseph Conrad, any questions directed to Derek directly about his seeking the Board of Selectmen? Okay. Joseph A. Conrad, Jr.
Good evening. Well, I've lived here for 74 years. I was in the last graduating class from Warren High in 1968. I did 37 years at Hardwick Knitters in West Warren. I was the one that put the lights out in my department when we closed, hoping sooner or later another mill would come in. That was 15 years ago. Now, with town service, I was appointed to the Historical Commission for 4 years. When an opening arrived on the Board of Health, I was appointed for 8 months to that position. And for the last 3 years, I guess you might say I've been the pain in the Board of Selectmen. I have made comments at just about every meeting. I was the one that made the suggestion of the Gold Star flag. Gold Star Flag Day is the last Sunday in September. It honors Warren's veterans who have died in combat. I recently did a paper on Joseph Warren, who was on the town seal. It was well received, but it was history that very few people knew about, which is sad considering the history of this town. Soon, we will have a distillery, and they plan on growing their own crop for that distillery. At one time, Warren had a distillery, which is now an apartment block on Mill Street. And at that time, the distillery did not grow their own crops, but they took the crops from the surrounding farms. Being a selectman is one of those jobs where you have to have the time to do it. It's not a job that you can dictate your decisions from the seat on the board. It is important because more often than not, problems with other board end up in the selectman's office. And the Board of Selectmen have to make decisions. They may be for or against other people. I have an open mind. I do research. I do backgrounds. More often than not, there are things there that should not be brought before the public. But other times, there are important things that have to be brought. And that's the job of the Board of Selectmen, to bring those articles that need to be brought forward in public meetings. Public meetings, like this one today, for the most part, don't seem to be well attended. And that's a shame. We have over 2,000 people in town that can vote, and they just don't seem to want to, but they're willing to complain about it. Your voice can be heard. It's not so hard to get up to a mic and say something for 1 or 2 minutes. It's easy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe Condrat. At this time, questions directed to Joe Condrat seeking the Board of Selectmen. Okay, so having gone through all the candidates, this would be an opportunity for anyone from the audience to ask a question of any one of the candidates on the stage. Yes, thank you.
I'd like to ask Travis if he has a preference. He's running for, I believe, 3 positions. Do you have a preference, which one you absolutely want, like a pecking order from 1 and 3?
No, I don't actually, there's really no preference. I just want to be more involved with the community. After running cable, kind of helped build a pretty solid team, so I'm not needed quite as much, so that kind of opens me up for more time. And some of the, like housing and sewer, tend to meet twice a month or so they're a little less involved, and being able to cut down on some of my time in cable frees up more time to help out. But just want to be able to help out where I can, so.
Okay, thank you, Travis.
Yep.
Other questions? Yes.
This would also be for Travis. I know several people who've applied for to be able to make like baked goods or canned products from home, and they've gone through significant difficulty getting through the board over the past several years. How would you be willing to help those folks move forward? Because those are potential people who could open businesses in the future.
So with situations like that, I think a lot of the issues with some of the boards is not quite not willing to say we don't know the answer right now, and put the time in to research it before making a decision. In cases like that, I would take the time to figure out, what needs to be done and, do the best I can to kind of guide that person along to be able to do it properly, versus just saying, hey, you didn't submit the right paperwork, we're not going to approve this. It's all about not only making the decisions, but helping the residents along when we can.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Stella. Okay, Raymond Capaco, yes.
You can call me Ray.
In your opening statement, you mentioned how you didn't think someone on the board of selectmen should also be on the planning board. I was just wondering why is that?
Primarily because it's too much of a concentration of power and it's a potential conflict of interest. The selectmen are the chief executive officers in the town, and they have basically oversight over nearly all the other boards in the town, including the planning board. So it doesn't make sense to me that a selectman would be operating here as a chief executive, and yet they have a board that isn't really under them per se, but anything the planning board does is potentially reviewable by the selectmen. And what I'm speaking of mostly is legal matters. It's what I have in my mind anyway. There's other things too, but the easiest example to speak to would be legal matters. So if the planning board got involved in a legal matter, they can't do that independently from the selectmen. And so there's a built-in conflict of interest there. And just the practical aspect of it too. Now, I'm going to step over and provide the counter argument to my position, is that if there's nobody else stepping forward to serve on the planning board, but a selectman is willing to, I totally understand that. I really don't have a good argument against that. That makes perfect sense. But in this case, there is someone willing to step forward and serve on the planning board. That would be myself. And so I see no need for a selectman to run again to be on the planning board when there's someone who, if I may say so, is qualified to provide that service. I'm just going to take the opportunity to say one more quick thing too. I neglected to do this when I spoke initially, I do appreciate any of the voters considering my candidacy. I don't have any direct planning board experience. I have been serving on our town's finance committee for the past 2 years, and I've attended almost every selectmen's meeting over the last 2 years as well, and a good number of the planning board meetings. And so I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question for anyone on the board or on the stage tonight? Anyone from the stage with a final thought or comment that would like to follow up with something? Derek, yes.
Because we are not perfect and we are not all as good as Ray, I didn't prepare my statement, so I just kind of like made it up when I stood over there. But I had something really that I wanted to say. As a selectman, we forget who we are. You know, if I like green or yellow, it doesn't matter. If I really want a McDonald's in town, it doesn't matter. I represent all of you. You know, and when we take decisions, we don't think in our benefit, we think in the benefit of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. So I offer that opportunity to anybody else on the stage. So as a final up or final thought with lack of questions, we could have the time for that. Okay, Joe Condrat.
Well, recently it became a problem with some of the basic dictates of the president. Congress makes the laws, and they become the law of the land. With the town of Warren, we also have to follow those laws. In the near future, we don't know if we're going to get grants. And the problem with not getting grants is we need to build a fire department and a police department. At $30 million, there would be approximately $6,000 to every person in the town, whether they're a day old or 100 years old. It becomes a problem. We need the grants to build anything. We can't dump it on the taxpayers because 1/3 of the town is over the age of 60. 1/3 of this town is married, probably with a mortgage and a couple of kids. They can't afford a big jump in the property tax.
Thank you. Raymond?
Thank you, Joe. Just a general appeal to the town residents at large, all the registered voters. No matter who you support or don't support, it does matter that you vote, and it does matter that you get involved. Your voices do matter. I know that's kind of become cliche that, you know, I don't think anyone on the stage here really fancies himself as a politician, and yet the reality is we have to play that role at least a little bit. And so you hear politicians say, oh, your voice matters. I'll speak for myself, and I'm suspecting everyone here on stage would agree with me, as well as many of the other candidates who aren't here tonight, that your voice does actually matter. We can agree, we can disagree, we can, you know, be perturbed, we can be angry, we can be happy, et cetera, et cetera. But expressing your opinion does matter, and I think most of the candidates I know really are going to listen to you. If they don't, come and talk to me, and I'll talk to them, because I think I do have most of the people here on stage's ear. I think I know these gentlemen up here, and pretty much all the candidates. I don't know everyone well, but in any case, please let your voice be heard. I think that's my appeal to the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience?
That's clapworthy.
Okay, so I do have one question anticipating maybe a lack of participation. This was actually from a Warren teacher that had concerns about the growth of the town and was kind of expressing this, and they said, if you have a chance, could you ask this again? As a neutral moderator, I don't live in the town, but this is a question that was proposed to me to ask if I had an opportunity. So the question was on how do you vision, what's your vision for the growth of the town? And this teacher was really looking at balancing responsible growth, like, you know, businesses that come in, what type of businesses, do we remain a rural character, or we look to grow and expand the tax base so it's cheaper to live in the town of Warren? So that could be for anyone on stage. Most likely probably planning board and selectmen, I would think, have a say on that. But again, the basic question was, what's your vision for the town in terms of growth?
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, Joe Condrat.
All right. We do have some open storefronts, and mom and pop businesses, they start off slow, but they do grow over time. I would say that when it comes to the mills, unless we get somebody that's, say, like Elon Musk, that can come in and just bring in a business, it's going to be difficult to fill all those mills. I think there are 7 of them. At one time, the West Warren Mills employed 2,000 people. And they weren't all from Warren. They were from all the surrounding towns. It is possible it could happen once again, but it's going to take years to get there. As per physical growth, I believe the present population is about 4,800. And it doesn't seem to be growing that fast. Kids get out of college, they don't come back. We need a set of businesses that are going to bring those children back. Age makes no difference. I'm 74. I'm willing to work for a living. I'm sure that these young ladies, if they could get a job, they'd be willing to. People work because they want to, not because they have to. Have to comes with all the problems in life. But you have to find ways to solve those problems. Don't just let them build up.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Anyone else on stage to address that question about the growth of Warren? Ray Capaco.
I don't have a good full answer to this. Just a quick observation. Warren is a rural bedroom community, and I don't anticipate that changing in the near future at all. That's just the character of the town. It's never going to be Sturbridge, and it's always dangerous to use all-inclusive language like never. We don't know the future, but I don't anticipate that. And so I don't see Warren growing its demographic base anything significant in the foreseeable future. And so it'll be important to be fiscally conservative every year. Budgets are going to be a battle. The town can't solve the lack of business problem by itself. It's just, you know, I think there's a lot of residents who have a mistaken notion that the town can do something with the mill complex, for example, and it simply can't. It's privately owned. All the town can do is make sure it is establishing policies and a disposition to truly welcome businesses that are interested in coming to Warren. But it can't create the business, and it can't make the businesses come, and it can't do anything with privately held property. It's just not the town's domain. And so I see the town maintaining its current character as a rural bedroom community, which will be largely beholden to the more urban areas like between Worcester and Springfield to provide jobs in those urban areas where most of the jobs come from, and yet at the same time encouraging whatever jobs do come into the town by policy and practice to truly be helpful to new businesses, not to overregulate them, to properly regulate them, of course, but not to cause any kind of a wrinkle that would even slow down a business from coming into town. I could say more, but I don't have good formed thoughts, and I don't want to get into a real rankle right now about some things. But yeah, I really, anyone who's expecting the Elon Musk benefactor to come into town, well, that would certainly be welcomed in all likelihood. I'm not trying to make a political statement by invoking Elon Musk. I'm simply saying someone who has real means, the town can simply hear their plans and welcome them and do what it can to help them. But there's no silver bullet here. We just have to live within our means and do our best. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Okay, again, anyone else with that question? Derek. Again, the question was, what's your vision for the growth of Warren, balancing rural versus urban, and the character of the town was kind of how she phrased this.
Mr. Salvatore, I'm very happy that this teacher asked this question, because as a architect, as a urban designer, I can tell you that we have something here that a lot of towns don't have, and it's a gem. It's something that we even don't know how good it is. It's the school. Quaboag Regional Middle High School, one of the best schools in all Massachusetts, and it was just a few years ago who got into that domination. It's a gem. I'm going to tell you why. Yes, have you seen when we are here in a town meeting asking for, approve the school budget and everything, and there's one part of the population who, yes, we want to support the school, another part that don't. Parents, of course, they're going to support it because they want the best education for the kids. Now, there are other residents who may have kids that they already grew up, they live outside Massachusetts. And one day I had a time to talk to one of them, and I said, yeah, I know how difficult it is, but for example, do you have any plans in the future, like, maybe moving to the South when you retired or something? And they said, yeah. Okay, so you're going to have to sell your house. I guess so. Well, guess what? When towns have good schools, parents are looking for good schools, and your house is going to be, a good price for to sell. So that's one of the good things. The other thing that I believe it has been a big step for Warren is that we don't have a direct access to the Mass Pike. A lot of the times we have clients looking at properties in town and they get excited, they like it, and they let me call my boss, and they go, hey, hello, no signal. Oh, that's another problem too. They don't have it's very hard to get the signal out. And then they said, well, let me have him come over here. How far is the closest Mass Pike exit? Oh, it's like 15, 20 minutes. So for business, it is just like an equation, and it changes every time, every second. If I understand, if we all said, well, let's open the Mass Pike, a lot of the population says, no, we don't want traffic, we don't want this. Okay, but there has to be a balance where, yes, our taxes keep going up, you pay more or less, where are we going to be? Where are we going to end up? If you look at the town's website, our tax rate from 10 years ago has coming down from 19 to 14 point something, okay? And I had a parent say, yeah, but I pay more taxes. Yes, but let me tell you, why is that? When you bought your house, probably was 100, now it's 200. So it's the value of your house is getting better because you can get a loan, you can get some money for the price of your house. Now imagine if we haven't been doing our homework and being financially healthy, how our town is, tax rates going down, but we pay more. Imagine if our tax will be going up. That'll be paying twice as much. So it's an effort. It's how are we gonna? We have to look at the school like an attraction. That's our only attraction in town. If you look at a mall, at the end of the mall, there's a Target, there's a Walmart, and that's what calls the attention. That's what calls the people. Right now, it's just the school. We don't have anything in town. I can see an equation, like if we open a Mass Pike, business will come in and more people will come up, and that will be beneficial. I understand there's a lot of people that do like the way we are, and I say this in all the meetings. When we're dealing with an issue, we're dealing with a project, I say, what if we do nothing? What happens? What will happen? Where are we going to be in the next 5 or 10 years? It's hard to tell. But the possibility is there. And we just need to work together to make it happen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Okay. With that last question, anyone else would like to respond to that, address that question? Okay. So, any further questions from the audience? Yes, Raymond.
Could I act as an audience member?
Who do you would like to ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
My question to let's set this up, to the selectmen candidates, what is your position on the proposed safety complex?
Well, my primary position is we do need a new police station and a fire station. They've outgrown their spaces. I have concerns that building it, we're going to have a heavy mortgage for 30 years that's going to be basically dumped on the taxpayers. I don't know if we can get a federal grant, which is really what we need. And the other problem with building, if somebody hears you got a grant for $20 million, that's how much it's going to cost. You can put up a $500,000 building, but once you get a grant, you have to use union labor. You can't use the local construction companies, the local electrician, the local plumber. You have to go to the cities. And that's where the big bucks are. We'll be giving away $20 million that's not going to be recirculated in the town.
Thank you, Joseph Condrat. Derek, your turn to address that.
So much, I've been very positive to this. And the story about this, since the beginning, I said, well, we are kind of screwed up. We have a very small fire department. We even had to pay more for the new truck because it had to be a special order because our fire station is too small. So the standard fire truck doesn't fit in there. Not to say to the police, which is in a kind of like a one-floor office space. There's not even a cell or a safe place to put an inmate over there. Anyway, at the beginning, I said, guys, we need to get a grant because it can't come up from us. If we say, oh, we need a new police department, we need a new fire department, oh, you selectmen, you don't know anything about this. So what we did, we got a grant for a study to tell us what should we do in this case. And the new complex, that's the result. What it's telling us, well, these are the things that you should have. And of course, we are seeking up for grants and ways to do it. It's just that something sooner or later is going to happen, or we're going to end up without police and fire. Or it's going to start going down. And again, now we will have another gem in town. You know, people will look at the school system. Oh, they have a very good police. Oh, they have a very good fire department. It's a great place to live. Let's move over there. Get taxpayers coming here. Get the business to come. And I think it's a great opportunity for the town to grow. I know it's expensive. Yeah. If we can't do it, we're going to have to do something about it. It's not that something that the selectmen has planned it or anything. It's just that that's the system. That's how we are. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Okay, so in closing, I again would like to thank the candidates for coming tonight, the audience members, Warren Cable for broadcasting this for more to see later on. And I keep going back to what Stella said at the beginning with civic virtue. These are positions, all these candidates are seeking positions to help the town. They're doing it for the common good. They're not seeking fame or fortune, and they're not getting rich doing these positions. And they're going to be putting in long hours and devoting a lot of time and effort. So we applaud you for coming here tonight, making your statements, getting up on stage, and looking to service the town of Warren. So thank you all for coming. And I would also like to get a group picture before you depart. Okay, so with that, that closes our candidate night. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Salvador, for all that you did to make this happen.
Thank you, Mr. Joinville and girls.